Hi everyone, I'm Jackie
And I'm Nat.
and we are from If Only They Told Me, Parenting in the Tween and Teen Years. So the other day, Nat and I met at the beach, and those who may know us from previous years, we are the authors of If Only They Told Me, Babies, Sex and a Cup of Tea. Here we go. But now we are through those years, and Nat now has an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 12-year-old, and I have an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old. So we are navigating those tween and teen difficult years. And being a child, as you know, isn't exactly plain sailing. In fact, it can almost be more stressful than being an adult. So today, our topic is all about how to help your child be more resilient.
Yes. So you guys, this is really cool because we've had so many moms that have benefited from the stuff we did in the past in the 0 to 5s kind of range. And it's been a while, but we are ready to dive back in. We're doing a video series. I don't know how many. I was thinking 6. We'll see how we go on a whole range of topics. So comment below if there's specific topics you want us to talk about. We will also be bringing in experts as well as just regular parents that are a few strides ahead of us on the journey themselves. But the topic that we chose today is exactly that, is resilience. So let's dive in. So Jackie, do you have like a story to share or some tips that you've learned so far?
Yeah, well, there's a heap of tips actually. I mean, the main thing is, those tweens and teens years in particular can be a whole different minefield because you are every day you're facing things like starting a new school, trying out for sports teams. It might be because you're getting older, you have to do tests and exams. So there's all these opportunities where your confidence can be knocked, and becoming more resilient will help you and your child to navigate through them. And part of that becoming resilient and helping your child be resilient is for you to take more of a step back and let your child make mistakes. It's okay for your child to make mistakes. And one of my stories is actually, I've got a couple of stories actually, but one is my son. It's very, very easy for us all as parents to want to jump in and to make everything perfect for them as much as we can. And I have been known in the past to help a little too much with the homework. Well, this year I realized...
Look at this project I created.
Beautiful. Well, this year I realized that as he's now 13, I really needed to let him do it himself a lot more and really not help at all and step back. So this year when he was preparing for his speech, his annual speech that he has to do, I just went, nah, nothing to do with me, buddy, off you go on your own. And he scratched his head and moaned and groaned, and it was all too hard and couldn't do it. And then sure enough, a week before it was due, he just literally pulled his finger out and wrote a really great speech that he did all by himself with no help from me. Not only was I so proud of him and myself for not stepping in, but he was so proud of himself, and I know that next time it will just make it a whole lot easier to navigate. So that's my story.
Yeah, good story. And I'm almost got the opposite situation right now where my boy, I'm like, dude, how you going with that speech? They call it spoken word. How are you going with spoken word? And he's like, yep, good. And I'm like, so do you want some help? Because it's kind of what I do for a living, because I help people with like speaking and presenting, and he doesn't want my help. So I'm having to like force myself to step back, and he doesn't want my help.
Yeah, so that's tip number one. That definitely, as parents, we have got to step back and realize that we can't perfect our child's life, that they have to be allowed to make mistakes and to find their own way through.
Definitely.
So step 2 is about giving your child age-related freedom. And it's something that Nat and I have spoken about quite recently. In fact, when is it okay to allow them to walk to the dairy by themselves, for example, or walk home from school by themselves? But the more you give them a little bit of freedom, a little bit at a time, the stronger they'll get, the more confident they get. And therefore, that helps build resilience too. So, starting them slowly, maybe you're not at the school.
You're like trailing them with the car.
Yeah. I'm just thinking maybe rather than standing right outside the school gate, maybe a little bit further down the road, wait for them, and they'll feel a bit more grown up coming out of school. And then as they grow older, letting them start to walk home by themselves with friends, and just a little bit at a time, and go to the dairy by themselves, for example, little things like that. So with a dollar coin or whatever it might be. So that's my step 2.
Yeah,
definitely. Tip number 3.
Very organized over here.
Of course. Teach them to problem solve by normalizing their nervousness. Let them know that it's actually okay to be nervous. We're all nervous about situations. So allow them to voice their problems and also to work through possible solutions with them. So for example, if they're going on their first school camp, just maybe, and they've never slept away from home before, they would be nervous. Of course they would. So maybe you can organize a few weeks before for them to go and have a sleepover at Nana's house for a night, or something like that. And then maybe a friend's house. So it just slowly gets them used to, new situations, and basically makes it less of an ordeal for them. But to allow them to do that, they have to be able to put a voice to how they're feeling. So, allow them to do that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to jump in with something that's happening at the moment is resilience is interesting. So it's really, I always talk about it from a business perspective with the people I work with. I'm always saying you got to have a high level of what I call dust yourself off ability, like the ability to dust yourself off and move forward. So whether there's a setback on your sports team and like you got injured and therefore you can't fully participate or you're not as good as you used to be, or there's an academic setback where they didn't achieve what they wanted, or there's something with a friend, right? So we're going to spend a whole episode, I imagine, talking about relationships and friendships and that kind of thing. But even whatever the setback they have, I think giving our kids the skills to dust themselves off. So it's not so much soldier on, like just keep going, I don't care. It's not that. It's acknowledging how they feel, going, wow, I feel really hurt by what just happened. Yeah. Or I feel really sad that I can't, that I've got my arm in a cast. This happened to my daughter's friend the other day. She broke her hand at cheerleading, and so she's in a cast. And obviously that's got the emotional side of it. So it's just acknowledging how they feel. So teaching our kids and empowering them to acknowledge how they feel, but then giving them the skills to move forward and dust themselves off. Not sweeping it under the rug and soldiering on, but and not just going, look on the bright side, you didn't break your leg. Like not just doing that, but really feeling that their pain, empathizing with them, and then helping them to move through it. And so I feel like it's this thing about if we can give them dust yourself off ability, whatever the scenario is, it's going to help them as they grow older into, the later teens and then into their 20s and into adulthood. So there's my little tip, if they can just, number one, acknowledge how they do feel and then help them kind of dust themselves off and move forward.
And you're right, helping them manage through that. So a good example at this age is at this age, they're trying out for teams, sports teams and things like that. And, they might have this overinflated sense of their ability, and they might expect that they're going to get into the A team, for example, whereas in reality they might get into the D team. So it's like, rather than of course allowing them to feel sad and frustrated about that, but also talking them through, well, what can we do about that to make sure that next time you try out for the next team, you might be able to go up to the next level up, so working towards your goals and all that kind of stuff. So yes, letting them get out their upset and their frustration, but also helping them manage how to work harder to get better for the next time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, what else you got?
I've got, letting your children make mistakes we've already talked about, but also another one is not providing all the answers. So, for example, if your child is worrying about starting a new school, for example, rather than saying, oh, you'll be okay, you'll love it, let them work through their emotions again a lot more. So talk to them about, okay, so what exactly are you worried about? Is it that you won't have any friends? You don't know anybody that's going there? And then how can we get over that obstacle? So maybe they struggle to start conversations with new people, for example. So you could practice with them, talk to them about conversational starters and things like that, so that they can start to make friends, so that when they go there on their first day, they feel more confident and able to start conversations with relative strangers and get over that hurdle, so to speak. So my son, for example, he finds it very difficult meeting new people. He's got a very small, tight group of friends, but we've brainstormed with him before, how to start a conversation with somebody you don't know, and it's been really, really helpful. So completely.
And by the way, that's such a good life skill anyway, just because there's a lot of adults that don't like doing that either.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, and you've probably got a bit of a story about this, it's about being a model of resilience yourself as a parent. I mean, I am, hands up, an over anxious parent. You know, I'm one of these ones that like hovers over and I try and make it as perfect as I possibly can for them. I hate seeing them fail. I hate seeing them get upset. So I want everything to be perfect. But I have had to learn myself, like I talked about myself having to step back from my son's homework recently. I have had to learn that I need to step back. And so if we model being resilient ourselves, then that will in turn teach our kids. And you've got a bit of a story with how you called Matt up about that.
Well, yeah, I'll get into that story, but it's so interesting because you just said perfect 3 times, and I don't believe in perfection. So I think, you know, we went acknowledging that we as parents are different. You know, we are unique people, just like our kids are unique.
Yeah, we messed up.
Yeah, and so acknowledging, and those of you guys that haven't met Jacqui and I before, you know, for our book, like Jacqui is the stylish, perfectionist, neat freak, full-time working mother of 2. That's how we describe her in the book, and that's who she is. And then I'm the hectic but happy at-home mother of 3, working mother of 3. So I own my own business. And we're different people. Like in the book, we say Jacqui's house is immaculate. Like the curtains are drawn, the beds are made. Do you remember what?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all like
and then they're like, and Nat's house looks like it's just been robbed. Like, ha, ha, ha. But the point is, we are all very different people, and therefore we will parent different ways. But I think you're right. If we can model resiliency ourselves in our own life and dust ourselves off while still acknowledging how we feel, sometimes for them to see that we are sad and upset and we don't have to pretend to be happy 24/7, it can help them with their resilience too.
And for them to see that we've made mistakes and we acknowledge the mistake. We don't try and cover it up.
Yes.
We actually say, I messed up.
My bad.
That is key. Yeah, absolutely key.
Yeah.
So that they can see that, oh, it's okay. You know, it's okay to do that, and mum's still smiling the next day, kind of thing. So yeah.
So one of my keys for like living resiliency with resilience, I suppose. So one of the things I talk a lot about is I call it up your brave, and helping kids to up their brave. But for our own selves, I think the key is really saying what we want. And so as a parent, it takes resiliency to be a parent, right? It's like I literally go, you pretty much need a degree in logistics, am I right? To be a parent, and definitely a mother, with the whole like hip hop, cheerleading, practice, you know, flipper ball, whatever. Like all that transportation and logistics that we do. You need a lot of resiliency also just to even look after yourself, so you have the energy to help them with like their homework or whatever, or hold them accountable and that type of thing. So I think being a resilient parent, we got to role model it. But one of the things we do in my house is we have these magic words, which is say what you want. Say what you want. 4 words. And so if someone's yabbering on about something, or someone's complaining about something, we're like, what do you want? And my husband and I do it a lot, because now that we know that's not a rude thing to say, it's a helpful thing to say. Hang on a second. What do you want? And once I texted my husband, this is about 3 months ago, I texted him and I said, I don't want to be the primary caregiver anymore. Like I literally said, I've done 12 years of being like the person, and I actually just want to work more, and I actually would love to just have a fresh look at how we're doing things as a family. And so we did it. He shuffled his schedule, and now I get to work till 5 o'clock 2 days. He does 2 morning drop-offs. But I think as parents, as we go through the journey, we need to keep touching base with what we actually want and how we want things to be, not just like, oh, I'm so busy, I have to do this and I have to do that, because that's living in kind of victim should mode. And I think we want to live more in up your brave mode, personally.
Yeah. So you guys might have your own tips. You might have your own stories. We'd love to hear them. So please send them to us and comment. And we'd love to hear, and we'll share them as well.
Yeah, definitely. So we got people on Facebook Live, we got people on the Zoom. So comment below, you guys. Let us know your thoughts on resilience. If you have questions or you have stories to share, but also other topics, because we've only asked a few people so far, but anything you've got that you want to learn about, we can find somebody that knows about it and we can help you, because that's really what we're here to do. Because as we say, we're not the experts.
We're the best friends you never knew you had.
See ya.